There were 18.1 million cases of cancer that were diagnosed in 2020. And in that same year, there were 10 million deaths that were attributed to cancer. So that is getting us to the stage where it's almost impossible for us to not experience cancer in our life. And I don't mean as a person that is diagnosed. I mean even supporting those and witnessing those that are loved around us in that situation. My name is Gemma Lonsdale, and I am an author, a speaker, a modern day prophet, and I help people step into their authenticity and really step into their own personal power and align with their own divine truth and build a faith in a higher power and with themselves as well. And not only that, I have survived breast cancer twice. And I truly believe that my initial cancer diagnosis was one of the greatest gifts that has ever happened in my life. It is the greatest gift that I have been given, which I know it sounds odd, but we'll get on to that. Now, whenever I think of my life before cancer, I was 34 whenever I had my first diagnosis, and I've always been an incredibly ambitious person. You know, I've always been really driven and wanted to achieve the nice house, the fancy car, the big job title, and lots of money. So my life was really very focused on the material world and what I could have, attain there. Now, in 2018, that's whenever I had my diagnosis, and honestly, my world just fell apart at that time. And I don't mean just because of my diagnosis. I mean that my whole world fell apart at that time. My husband and I, my daughter's dad, we had actually decided at that point to separate. So I should be saying my ex-husband. We had decided to separate, and it was the week after that I actually found out that the lump that I had felt in my breast that I had thought was probably nothing, with my age, and well, what are the chances? And it was a week later that I was told that actually that is cancer, Gemma. They knew from looking at the scans that it was definitely cancer. We just didn't know what sort of cancer it was and if it had spread anywhere else. So it was that period of things really being unknown. Now, I mentioned before, I'm incredibly materialistic at that stage. I had just got my dream car. I had wanted a BMW, and I had got an M Sport. It was a BMW 3 Series with a few extra bells and whistles on, and of course it was a lease. I didn't buy it outright because I didn't have the money. It was all for show. So I was attached to my material possessions, and I had been waiting for months and months for this car to be manufactured to my specification. And I think it was the Tuesday that I took delivery of the car. And I was just thinking, oh, aren't I amazing driving around in this car? People will think I'm really somebody. And I had my appointment in the clinic on the Wednesday. I know that the car came one day, and then it was the next day that I went in to have my lump checked out. And I can remember leaving that clinic because I had went in by myself, not expecting there to be any challenges or to be bad news. And I sat in my car, and I just thought to myself, how ridiculous is this? This car that I had waited on for so many months, and all of a sudden, I didn't even know if I was going to be alive by the time the 4-year lease was up. I didn't even know that I would still be alive in that period. And it just seemed in that moment such a pointless purchase, such a pointless thing to have actually experienced. Why had I wanted this? Why had I wanted this car? So cancer was really the big catalyst that shifted me into a deeper questioning, and it didn't necessarily all happen overnight, although the car obviously was a very profound moment for me. And the day that I found out that it definitely was cancer, we just didn't know what until the biopsies came back. But over the following months, there was a a really significant shift that started to happen in my life, because no matter how much I tried to repress what was happening and carry a life on as normal, and a single life, I had obviously moved out of the marital home, and I was on this journey of being a single woman and exploring Tinder and trying to distract myself from the horrors that were going on within my body and within my life. And I started to experience some really profound shifts. And I was finding myself sitting on my sofa, I was experiencing a spiritual awakening. And I was sat on my sofa pretty much every day, talking to my walls. So I was going through my own therapy and asking myself all of the deep questions while crying my eyes out at the same time. And wondering why had my marriage not worked? Why did my other relationships not work? Why was I not happy in my career whenever I had all of these nice things that the money was affording me to get, the trips, the holidays, the clothes, the car? Why was I still not happy? Why did I just have this big void within me? That's what it really pointed me towards. And then this is where the gift really started to kick in, cancer being a gift. Because as I was exploring all of this and I was purging all of it out, I started to have a lot of spiritual experiences, and I started to get visions and hear things, and I was seeing a lot of different synchronicities. So I, at that moment, started to become aware of the fact that God was real. There really was a higher power. There was a bigger meaning to this life. And it just helped me expand on the life that I had led before. It really helped me shift my focus from external and looking at what I could accrue in terms of material possessions and wealth and things like that, and started shifting my focus towards understanding myself more internally. Like, why do I make the choices that I do? Why am I motivated by the things I'm motivated by? Why do I feel things in a certain way? And why do I want certain things? And it actually started to get me questioning who I wanted to be as a person. Where did I want my life to go? What did I want to be putting my energy into? If my career as it stood wasn't fulfilling me, what is it that's going to fulfill me? Where do I want to be in life? Instead of the goals of having X amount of money and a certain job title, I'm thinking, okay, well, what sort of person do I want to be? What spiritual growth do I want to achieve in my life? So it was a massive, profound shift. And actually, out of some of the things that I had experienced in terms of the gift that cancer gifted me, apologies for the camera shaking, there's a few gifts that it really helped me catapult me towards. Now, cancer was the thing that shook me. And I don't know if you have experienced the same or if you have witnessed the same in other people's lives, but cancer came and shook me from my stupor. It was really the slap around the head that I needed in order to wake up and to ask myself these questions and explore my inner workings in a little bit more detail and release all of that repressed trauma and emotion that I had been bottling up for so many years. But there's some really significant things that it actually helped me realize, and not all of them were necessarily immediate realizations. There may have been a realization coupled with a healing journey and, unpicking things. But I have discovered this incredible ability to love myself, and not just physically, but to love the person that I have become and the person that I am today. Now, my cancer actually returned, and it meant that I had a mastectomy in the end. So I lost my breast in 2021, the end of 2021. So I lost my left breast. And obviously, whenever we have a profound change like that within our body, we have to work on accepting ourselves that little bit more. And it really, the whole journey, really, the whole experience has really pushed me to love and accept myself how I am, not to just think, well, I love myself when I'm thinner, or I love myself when I lose the jiggly tummy, or, I'm loving myself now. even with the grey hairs, the scars, the no boob, and I do have an implant there, but I had to go through accepting myself on a whole new level. So that was one of the gifts that cancer gave to me. It really has helped me free myself from all of the people pleasing and societal expectations and the doing things in order to be accepted by other people, doing things to please other people, doing things to go along with the herd and to move with the crowd. I'm now so much more comfortable and confident and actually saying, no, that's not for me. And I'm not going to do it just to make you happy, because I am the center of my world. I am here to make me happy, not you, okay? So it is my job to make me happy, and I speak up. I no longer shrink myself in order to not cause discomfort to someone else, because I am not afraid to use my voice and to ensure that I am heard. So cancer has been the integral part of that journey and me unpicking all of that as well. I now have much more purpose in my life. I'm not so absorbed by the things that I can accumulate, you know, the nice car, the nice house, the fancy trips. Those things aren't as important. Not whenever it comes to the fulfillment, because I know now from the patterns and the experiences that I've had that no amount of things is going to fill that void within me. And actually that is only going to be filled by my spirituality, my spiritual nature, by my connection with the divine, with God, with the work that I'm doing. Am I feeling fulfilled? Do I have a sense of purpose? Or am I just on the hamster wheel every day trying to earn more things? It really brought me to God. I didn't believe in God before all of this happened. I didn't have the evidence, and I hadn't seen that there was something else there. So it was all of my spiritual experiences that were triggered, my awakening, you know, that was triggered by the cancer experience, that has really helped me grow that faith and depend on that faith. And then it was in 2021 that I was told I was a prophet, and I had my prophetic calling. So I was able to then start to step into that a little bit more confidently as well over the last 4 years. And it's really helped me empathize with others. You know, sometimes I think we can be so quick to judge another person and to be critical of another person. And I'm not saying that I never do that anymore. I am human, and it can be easy to slip back into the old ways and to not be as kind and considerate. But I'm much more aware now of the journey that we're all on. We're all doing the best that we know how. And we're all trying to figure life out, trying to figure ourselves out, trying to deal with addictions and manage our emotions and codependency, and striving for what we feel is the best thing that, you know, we can be striving for at that time. Everybody is on their journey at a different level, at a different stage. So I think it's really important to try, well, it certainly has been important in my path, to be able to actually release the expectations of other people. And when I see somebody doing something that is maybe hurtful towards another person, or is inflicting trauma on another person, or they're not acting, you know, as they should do towards themselves or to me or to another person, realizing that they're doing it from a place of their own wounds and their own struggles, and it's not necessarily deliberate. And maybe someday in the future, they will experience something like what I have experienced and realize that actually, no, that was the wrong way to do things. And there is a better way. There is a more fulfilling path, and there are better choices that they can make. You know, the one thing that I would really tell people who are going through a cancer diagnosis, or who are supporting people through a cancer diagnosis, regardless of what your outlook is and what your prognosis is, cancer has a way of really telling us life is delicate. Life is incredibly delicate. And we get to be here And that in itself is a gift. The fact that we are walking on this earth and that we are waking up every day, regardless for, how long we're going to actually get to do that moving forward, we get to be here. Growing old, disgracefully or gracefully, is not a given. That's not guaranteed to any of us, cancer or no cancer, to be fair. That's not a given. And although we can, have all of this positive thinking, and I am a big advocate of positive thinking, we can have the positive mindset and the being, welcoming positive things to come into our path, but we can't dictate what happens to us externally. We can't dictate what the divine brings onto our path and what challenges and obstacles might actually land in our lane at any one time. But what we can do is we can actually have the power to control how we react to those. So whenever we have a challenge like cancer that has impacted us in our life, it's a great opportunity to reflect and consider whether you're living the life that you want to live. Are you living life to the fullest? If life was going to be taken from you tomorrow, would you feel like you have done enough? Would you have things that you wished you had chosen differently? Would you want to live a little bit more wildly? Would you want to choose things that are more centered towards yourself as opposed to keeping other people happy? Would you care so much about what other people think? And whenever we ask ourselves that question, or those questions, it allows us to make better choices moving forward. And that doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden just going to overturn your life and just make a completely bold choice tomorrow and live a completely different life. And you might do, but there is an untangling normally that comes with picking apart the choices that we've made previously in order to walk the path that we should be walking in order to fulfill ourselves and to fulfill our own destiny and what we actually came here to live. So there is an opportunity for you to make different choices and to choose a different path in life. If cancer hadn't come into my life, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. It took me deeper into my own power and my own purpose and my connection with God. And it really cracked me open in order to let the light pour in. And that is why cancer has been my greatest gift. I really appreciate that you have listened. I hope that it has helped inspire you on your own journey and with your own challenges. Even if they're not cancer related, I think it's information that's relatable to all of us, regardless of what obstacles are on our path at the moment. If you would love to get a little bit more of me, I do have my book somewhere. The link is in my bio. Wisdom Proverbs for Today, and it is a very inspiring and uplifting book that helps us lead a better life, brings upliftment really to us in terms of choosing better options for ourselves and helping us to feel that little bit more empowered. So you can check my book out in the link in my bio. You can purchase it on Amazon. And it has been great to have you here, and you can leave the comments below. I will always come back to people's comments, and I'm also available to be followed on other social media channels as well. TikTok and Instagram being the two main ones where you will find me.